All right, welcome to this F.E.A.R Extraction Point modding or tweaking video, whichever one feels best. So the purpose of this video is to get F.E.A.R Extraction Point working on a Windows 10 system. Also, this is very important. I should point out that we are talking about the Steam version of the game. I have only tried all of these fixes and modding with this particular version, so I cannot guarantee that any of this will work on any other version. So the biggest thing in this list is obviously to get the game starting and working at all, but we also have a few other things that we will go into. Also, I will do a bit of a shout out. All of these fixes have been discovered or made and created by other people. I only brought them all into this particular video so we could go over them in sort of a list and have a full package. So the first three items on the list: getting the game to start on Windows 10, editing launch options in Steam, and getting the right compatibility mode can actually sort of be found on the Steam forums for F.E.A.R Extraction Point. We have the Steam forum page for a lot of the stuff that has to do with just getting it to actually run. And the guide is called How to Get F.E.A.R and Both the Expansion Packs to Work No Problem by the Magic Don Juan. And here he goes into what you should do and what you should type in for the set launch options. So here you can find the information, and now I will kind of show where to input the solution that he has. One of the things that we kind of want to look at is the launch options. And if you go into your Steam library and push the properties, this little window will appear. It's called General. And down here you have this empty sort of area, and it's called Launch Options. Advanced users may choose to enter modifications to their launch options. And in here you can enter this command: user directory F.E.A.R XP and user. And XP is actually what stands for extraction point. So this can be used for the original F.E.A.R by just removing the XP, and you can add a 2 like that if you want to use the same for Perseus Mandate, the other DLC campaign. But we want to have that, and the only way to save it, as far as I know, is to just close the window with that in there. I don't need it, but if you do, just enter that and close the window, and it should be saved. Other than that, we also want to go into compatibility, and in order to fix that, we need to find the actual execution files for the game. And if you have installed it through default, like settings in Steam, it will be found in Program x86, Steam Apps, Common, F.E.A.R Ultimate Shooter Edition, and F.E.A.R XP. And F.E.A.R Ultimate Shooter has all 3 of the games. So down here is the original F.E.A.R, F.E.A.R XP is Extraction Point, and F.E.A.R XP2 is Perseus Mandate. So F.E.A.R XP is the one we want. And then you have F.E.A.R XP, right click, properties, and that should bring up this window. And it's properties for F.E.A.R XP, and on the second tab from the left you have compatibility. And if you're lucky, as I was, this will already be pre-filled correctly. So this program is supposed to run in Windows XP Service Pack 2 mode. And I think you can also pick Service Pack 3, but Windows XP Service Pack 2 or 3 is what you want here when you close this window down. And if it isn't there, you might run into problems. So that should be there. So we have now gone over the first 3. We have hopefully gotten the game to now start on Windows 10, and we have the correct launch options that we entered through Steam, and we have the right compatibility mode that we entered through the executable program. And now we kind of want to go back to other problems that are kind of, I wouldn't say happening to everybody, but a lot of people run into them when they try to do this. So this might not be an actual problem or a bug. Well, it is kind of a bug, but it's mostly a way to conveniently handle it. So we're talking about point 2 on the list, enter display settings in game. And it is very much as it says. When the game is up and running, do run the game, and in the game go into options and display, and you will have a lot of things that you can change and tweak. And I would just take some time and go over all of these, aside from the actual display proportions. Leave those as is. They don't have the 1920 1080 option in there at all, so you can't fix that like tweaking inside of the game. So just leave it as is and have a look at all the other settings and go over the ones you like. And also this is also a good moment to figure out if you want the subtitles on or off, because we will get back to those at a later point in this video. So when you're satisfied with all the settings inside display, just enter out, save and enter out, and then quit out of the game, and hopefully you will never have a reason to go back in there. Keeping the FPS stable. So the FPS in this case stands for frames per second, and a lot of people run into the game either freezing or like stuttering quite severely, which obviously can be very, very detrimental from enjoying the game. So we will now look on how to fix this. So we now have this place called Direct Input FPS Fix version 1.0, and it's by Methanhydrate. So I'll just read a little bit here. So about this file, the Direct Input FPX Fix fixes an input-related FPS drop slowdown problem that occurs in F.E.A.R. With expansions, Condemned Criminal Origins, and other games, it is easy to install and does not require manual disabling of HID devices. So what you want is basically this DIN_PUT8.dll. And you want to drop it in the same location where we were looking for compatibility fixes. So you can download this file here and extract it wherever you want, and then grab the DLL file and just drop it in here. And as you can see, I have it in here, DIN_PUT8.dll. So it's in here. And if you want to use it for F.E.A.R and Percy's Mandate, just drop the same file in their folders and you should be hey-okay. So that should take care of the FPS stuttering. Getting the game to display 1920 1080. So as I said, in the display settings, we haven't fixed that, but we kind of want it. This is not an option that is available in games. You cannot pick it by just scrolling around from the options that are already in settings for display. So how do we get them though? Well, once again, we have a guide for this problem with a good solution, and it can be found on the F.E.A.R Extraction Point forum Steam pages. And this one was done by Vault Dweller Michael, and it's called Widescreen 1920 1080. So, unlike the base game or the other expansions, there is not a widescreen option in the display menu as mentioned. Is there a trick to play the game in 1920 1080? And yes, there is actually. Found out that you can edit the config file with Notepad located here, and then he has a sort of a screenshot of the data you will be looking for in this particular document. So let's go and look where this document can be found and how to mod it. So this time you actually want to go into users. I think maybe in English it's called shared documents, and you should have Timegate Studios F.E.A.R XP. And in here you could have all of these depending on how much of the game you've played, but you should have settings. And in here, make sure to enter screen width to 1920 and screen height to 1080. So replace whatever values you find on these two lines and then save it. And that should put the game in those display settings. So, and if it does work as it should, going into display settings in-game will kind of overwrite the fix, and that's why I didn't want you to go in there once this is in place. So now we have gotten the game to start. We have the display settings general we want. We have sort of made sure that the FPS is not a problem anymore, and we have the game in 1920 1080. You might have been one of those that want subtitles. I wanted it, but those are minute if you like leave them as is. So we kind of want to fix this as well. So it is back to the F.E.A.R Extraction Point Steam forums once again, and I found this solution here by Montonero and one collaborator, and it's called How to Fix Small Subtitle Fonts at Big Screen Resolutions. Exactly what we want. Get to the point. Anyone who tried to play F.E.A.R at big screen resolutions faces the fact that subtitles are almost unreadable because of the very small font size. They are very small indeed. Surprisingly, there is still no bug fix for this. It's not really a bug because it kind of worked when the game came out, but we do want to have a solution for it. So let's scroll down a little bit, and we have here installation instructions. We need to download this solution, and we have 3 files here in this box, and the one we are looking for and want to use is for Extraction Point, and it's called F.E.A.R1920.arch00, and it should be placed in the target folder F.E.A.R XP, where we were doing other things to the game previously. And we need to get the actual file, place it in the correct folder, and then go into a document and add the path to it. But we'll do it step by step. So first, here we have a link. It's not fully written out, so we'll go over what it actually should look like. So it should look like this: HTTP bit.ly F.E.A.R subs 1920, and when you execute that URL, this file should download, and then you can unpack that at whichever place you want to pick. Now, when you have unzipped it, you should have this file right here, F.E.A.R1920.arch00, and drop it into the F.E.A.R XP catalog, and you can see that it's here among all the other Arch files that are previously there as default. So now we have it in there and we can actually use it. And in order to do that, we need to go into this file. And when we have opened the default file, we have all of these values, and this last line down here at the bottom is the one that you actually want to add. When you open this the first time, this one will not be there, but you want to add it just like I have down here. So F.E.A.R1920.arch00. You can actually copy the file name to be sure that you don't misspell it, and you place it down here, save, and then close this particular document. The game should be up and running. We have the correct display settings, and we have fixed the FPS to be stable, and we also have bigger subtitles. One of the problems I still ran into was something called the out of memory error, and for some reason older games had like a hard cap on how much RAM memory it could actually use, and the fix for this was to allocate more so that the game doesn't kind of run out of memory when trying to execute certain cutscenes and yeah, stuff like that basically. So the solution for this that I found was at a place called NT Core and the 4 GB patch, and I will write down the URL and also have the link somewhere in the description or the commentaries, but this is what you want to have, so you can download that. And it's not a 4 GB patch, it's just called the 4 GB patch because that's the amount of memory that you can have allocated to the game instead of like the 2 GB it had previously. So I originally wrote this tool for a friend of mine who needed it. This very little tool patches x86 executables in order to let them have 4 GB instead of only 2, of virtual memory on the x64 platforms. So you want to download it, and you can do that down here on the downloading. And when you've done that, you can, well, have it any place you want, and then run the actual program, and you will get, like, when you have the program up and running. So when you have the program up and running, you will have like a window and it says select executable. So in order for it to work, you have to go into the F.E.A.R Ultimate Shooter, F.E.A.R XP, where we've been multiple times, and pick the F.E.A.R XP and then just push open. So if you do that and push open, executable successfully patched. So now it has 4 GB of working memory. Okay, and you can close it down. So those were the tweaks, moddings, and like little corrections I went through in order to get F.E.A.R Extraction Point working on my Windows 10 system and the Steam version. And I went through the entire campaign with these tweaks, and it actually didn't, you know, fall to pieces at any one point. It worked really, really well. The only thing that I could have tweaked even further were like the text for everything else but the subtitles. They are still small, and there are even more extensive fixes if you want everything to be like bigger and centered on screen and whatnot. But to me, that wasn't super important. I just want the subtitles to be big. Also, and this is only important if you want to do like a video guide or a let's play or a walkthrough or whatnot and are using OBS. If you want to catch this game, you should have the display capture, and make sure to have it in fit to screen. Not the usual stuff, but fit to screen, because if you don't, you'll have the game at like a quarter of the screen when you actually go over what you've recorded. So make sure that you have fit to screen so that you'll have the full screen. Yeah, so that was lengthier than I wanted it to be, really, but hopefully all of this stuff might have helped you to get this still fairly great game working on your Windows 10 computer in 2022. And yeah, if nothing else, you might run into me in any other of my videos out there on YouTube. So the video feed you can see on the left is actually the game running with all the tweaks and fixes we just went through. This is the end of the guide though. I hope it helped you in some small way. If you liked the video, please hit the like and sub buttons. I of course hope to see you again, but for now it is bye bye.